Lights, camera, action!
We're shooting threes, just SMB. We're gonna watch and review film trilogies. It's all for laughs, so just sit back. We're gonna drop hella dimes on this podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Shooting Threes. We are back with our favorite little cutie patootie. We're going to be talking about how to train your dragon to train to dragon. I am Sarah Griffith.
You sounded like a YouTube tutorial just then. I'm Bridgett Greenberg.
I'm sitting, okay, for the listeners, I'm sitting at my new desk, and I do feel very like, welcome back to my channel. Today's sponsor is Squarespace. It's the desk. It's the power of the desk, and my mic is on a mic stand. Like, I'm feeling it. Like, I just need to put on my LED strip lights. It's like my gamer setup.
Yeah. Sarah's going to start twitching soon. I don't know why we're making fun of it. It's not that different from what we're doing right now.
I like that. I'm going to start twitching. Is that the verb when people are on Twitch, they're twitching?
You're asking the wrong person.
That's just a funny way to describe it. They're twitching.
They're twitching. Don't disturb them. They're twitching.
Well, we got a lot of requests from our subscribers to talk about this movie, so we checked it out. This is DreamWorks' How to Train a Dragon 2, released in 2014. Let's just dive in, shall we? Yes!
Let's do it. Yeah, we're back with our favorite cutie pie, little Toothless.
And this time he has cutie friends because we're on Burke and the dragons are
we're
friends.
Back on Burke, baby.
It's Burketown. We established that this is 5 years after the events of the first movie. Instead of killing dragons now.
Hiccup's a little older.
Older.
They're all a little older. Their puberty is hitting them. Well, not even. They're 20. So I don't know why they're acting like this.
You know, it's so funny. Like, all of them still have like a youth to them, but Hiccup is fully like, my dad wants me to be the chief of the tribe or like whatever. And it's like, wow, you are but 20 years old. Like, I don't know. Stoic seems like he's in his 50s. Like, I don't know why that would be the time to like pass it on to a kid who is 250 pounds lighter.
I don't think they live.
Maybe not.
Right. I mean, I don't think they... time-wise, I don't think they're living very long.
Well, they have that grandma that has all the baby dragons. But just the one, actually. I don't see a lot of elderly people.
She's like the elder, so I don't, I think 20 is probably like, he's probably like the Prince Charles of the place. They're like, all right, about time. What does this kid have done?
Yeah, maybe that's just like Viking lore that we were not bothered enough to research. Like, maybe there's like truth to this, and we're just like, what a stupid... No.
Yeah. Well, it's very funny because like now I guess they always say Hiccup had a crush on Astrid at the first movie, but now they're all like horny for each other.
Yeah, actually, can I just come in real quick with a fun fact I found from reading the Wikipedia page? Wikipedia
hit us. I love those.
Wikipedia lists Astrid as Hiccup's fiance. Did you get the vibe that they were engaged? Did I miss that?
Yes, only because, I mean, they never directly mention it, but I did clock that when they're doing the dragon racing in the opening scene,
yes,
which I do want to talk about, and Stoic is like, where's my son? And then Astrid like dunks a sheep. He's like, that's my daughter-in-law. He says the words, that's my daughter-in-law.
I have seen this movie twice. I have never heard him say that.
Yeah. No, I clocked that. This is also, I realized my first time seeing this movie.
Oh, what a treat for you.
Yeah. I think this is the first time no, that's not true. I was going to say we've done a movie.
No, The Matrix.
On this podcast that I hadn't
seen. The Matrix we had not seen. Or I had not seen the third one.
The Matrix and then famously the first.
Oh, right. The first 50 Shades
What are those movies called? 50 Shades of Grey.
Which, by the way, I was in a conversation and 50 Shades came up, and I just, like, vomited so much information about those movies, and I had to be like, I'm sorry, I do a podcast, and so it's actually work. It's work that I know this, because I realized these people didn't know that, and it just...
And now that you've mentioned 50 Shades, I have to repeat the podcast I did at you.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, let's talk about it. We visit Burke. Burke is you know, kind of similar to the place where we left it in the last movie, but a little more evolved. Like dragons and people have met.
Okay, but this is my I wrote this down. You just know there's anti-dragon freaks on Burke. Like, it's a good thing that it's 5 years after the fact, so people have had time to adjust to, like, the fact that dragons are friends. But I feel like there's got to be, like, a conservative holdout of, like, those freaks belong on the ground and not in the sky.
Well, we do meet those people.
Kind of. Yeah, actually, yeah.
That is a thing in this movie.
But I mean, like, on Burke, like, in the village.
Specifically on Burke. Well, we talked about that at the end of the last movie, that, like, how shocking it seemed. Like, he opened the door and everybody was immediately fine with dragons.
Yeah, but you know what? I will say, and I'll get to this later, I'm kind of picking up a theme, and maybe, like, I wouldn't necessarily call it a criticism, but these movies love to introduce a new idea, and, like, characters are pretty progressive in this world. Like, characters are very, like, oh, sure, okay, actually, yeah, I've thought one way my whole life, but in a second, I agree with you. And you know what? I don't resent you at all for that, at all. I'm totally on board. Like, wow, there's not a lot of convincing.
No one resents anybody. Yeah, there's no resentment in this movie at all, and there's also more to talk about on that.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. We also mentioned the characters have aged up. Do you remember, and maybe I'm just like, I'm definitely more online than you are, but when this movie came out, I remember there was like, not discourse, but like, it was kind of the thing online that Hiccup was hot, and people were really freaked out about that. Do you remember that? Because I remember that being a vivid...
Kind of. It's ringing a bell. I think that was more for the third one when he had like a beard.
Well, the third, I mean, he just gets hotter if we're being honest. But I do remember the second one, people were kind of shaken up like, oh, Hiccup is like cute.
But it's funny because he's hot in a very like
Jim Halpert,
like the hairstyle, which, you know, it was a little after 2014, but he has some stubble in this one. Like he's definitely more grown up. And like he's a nice boy.
He's a good kid.
And with the cute dragon dog, you know?
A little kitty cat.
Is got cat, dog, dragon, horse dragon.
Yes.
So, you know, I get the appeal.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he is cute, but I do remember, like, especially in the Tumblr circles, that being like, oh my god, he's hot.
Yeah, how do we feel about the two braids? His little baby braids. His little dreads.
Okay, so because this was the second time I'd seen this movie, frankly, I wasn't watching it as closely. So every now and then I would catch them on screen, like later in the movie. Like my eyes would focus on them, and then it would almost kind of take me out because it looks a little bit weird, which is like kind of the point. Like they're small little baby braids. But several times they just kind of stuck out to me in a weird way.
Yeah, like who did them? I mean, Astrid clearly just like did them, and then he kept them in. Like, again, he's supposed to be 20. They do all act like teenagers still in this movie.
Yes, and I will say this movie does this thing, which is completely fair. A lot of sequels do, but like when two characters get together romantically at the end of the first movie, I feel like it's always like the beginning of the second movie where one character has to be like, stop it, he's just my boyfriend, you know what I mean? Like they have to like establish like a relationship in a way that oftentimes is just kind of like super corny and overt, and it's like, okay, I got it. Like I remember from the last one for sure, like I was there.
Yeah, you also don't have to say it. You can just like show it and we would get it.
Totally. But maybe not, because I completely missed when Stoic.
You missed it,
his daughter-in-law, like, okay, fucking hell.
Yeah. You did miss that detail. But yeah, the dragon racing is a pretty cool opening. I do like they say it twice about how you know, everybody and everything lives in harmony and happily on Burke. Except for the fucking sheep.
Yeah, I guess fuck them. But you know what? Look at all the fur they're wearing. Look at all the meat they're eating. Like, yeah, I mean, that's probably just like their culture, their society.
Yeah, I guess so. Does she breed that much? That they're just like, because also it's an island.
Are you asking me?
It's a pretty remote island.
Are you asking me if sheep breed a lot?
you're from Texas.
I look like a farmer to you? Am I an agriculturalist? But actually they do, and I know that for a fact.
I guess they must, because like there are towns that have more sheep than people.
New Zealand.
So that makes sense.
New Zealand.
There are just so many dragons and so many people, and it's an island, and they're just like dunking sheep left and right. Yeah. And it's like, I think that's probably one of your main food sources.
Yeah.
And cattle.
And fish.
I don't think. And fish.
It's actually a very heart-healthy diet they have. Like, sheep, like lamb.
Sturdy Vikings.
Sturdy, solid bowel movements on Burke.
I mean, and they're...
we also have Hiccup charting this world now that they can fly, which I like that. I think that's a great way to expand the world. Dean DeBlois, our director.
Right, the writer-director, yeah.
It's one of those French names, so I kind of don't know.
Dubois, yeah.
Dean DeBois.
I'm going Dubois.
Anyway, he cited Empire Strikes Back and My Neighbor Totoro as inspirations for this film. He knew he wanted to make a trilogy. Again, this is the Wikipedia read. But like specifically when he talked about Empire Strikes Back, he was talking about like, it doesn't just expand the world in terms of characters, but like we literally go different places. I love a sequel that goes to different places. Like show us the characters going like more. I want a bigger world. I want better world building. I want to see like what is the landscape here.
And this lends itself so well because he said, you know, Vikings on the backs of dragons, that's unstoppable. And like clearly what they're doing with dragons is not just like racing them and having cool pets and using them for protection, but they can go much farther and faster than they could with ships.
Yes.
Now, so it makes sense that he's exploring, finding new places. He seems surprised when he runs up on new people.
Yeah.
He's a very naive boy.
20 years living on one island. I mean, what do you?
Sure. But he's like, there are new people you guys also know about dragons?
That is, what? I guess that is interesting. I just kind of always accepted it as that, like, okay, sure, you know. Because, like, Stoic also has, like, a huge, like, navy with him in the last movie. And it is a little bit like, so where the fuck did these people come from?
Right. They are Vikings. They do famously explore other lands.
Yeah, that's kind of their whole thing. But, yeah, I guess he does
put it nicely, explore.
He does kind of show up like Star Trek, like onto a new island. Like, so do you people here also dragon? Like, you gotta pick up a book, dude, and like you gotta learn something about something.
Yeah, especially, I mean, Stoic. You're not taking him on your ships or whatever. You want him to be a king so bad, get him out off that fucking island.
I have a lot of questions about the way Hiccup was raised by Stoic. Much to discuss as we get there. We also see that Hiccup is learning to build like some kind of flying contraption himself. So he is also like a dragon.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
Very fucking sick. Very cool. I like to see his new leg be used in like a practical and cool way.
Yeah.
I feel very strongly about I guess I feel very strongly. That's a little bit intense, but I guess I love to see disability on screen.
Yeah.
And in a way that is like complementary to a character, because I feel like so often when a physical disability especially is on screen, it's like it's a negative, it's a setback to the character. It's used in like horror tropes oftentimes. And this is a prosthetic that is actually, not only does it look fucking cool, it services the character and it winds up being an asset not only for Hiccup but also for Toothless.
Yeah.
And I think that's great to see in especially in a young kids movie.
Yeah, and it's something that like bonds him and his and Toothless.
They're friends.
Yeah. They take care of
the same. They're like,
and they take care of each other and they need each other. Too, because of, you know, they work better together.
Right. So we meet, is his name Eret?
Eret, yes.
E-R-I-T. Eret, E-R-E-T.
Who I did not realize was Kit Harington somehow.
You know what? I didn't either. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, I'm the dumbest motherfucker.
Really? Yeah. I was like, of course
that's Kit Harington.
Of course it's Kit Harington.
Of course it is. Yes, but he's there. He's got a band of dragon snatchers, I think is what
Trappers.
they call themselves.
Trappers.
Excuse me. We learned that there is another big bad guy out there named
Bloodquist.
Drogo
Bloodquist. Which
Drago.
Yeah. Another Drago for Kit.
I'm like sorry, I'm now just making sounds with my mouth as I read the Wikipedia page out loud. Eret Drago.
Yes. Bloodquist, which is they could have tried harder on that name. But
maybe it's from the books. Who knows?
But yeah, he's the big bad. I guess he, uses dragons and to build his army, but not like in a cool way like they do on Burke, in like a mean, abusey way.
Take
he
over
hates
the world
the dragons.
Kind of way.
Yeah, he seems to hate the dragons.
Yes.
I mean, he's a trapper. He's a bad guy. And this is the first that Hiccup seems to be realizing that is a possibility or a thing.
There are still people in the world who can hear his magical message that dragons are good.
Yeah. I mean, obviously on Burke, they used to think dragons were bad, but they were more just like afraid of them. They didn't even consider that they could control them in any way, whether for good or bad purposes.
Well, and also, like, as we established in the last movie, humans and dragons have the same end goal. Like, they're just trying to hunt, survive, and protect each other. Like,
everyone's just trying to live, man.
Exactly. Can't we all just get the fuck along? I'm begging you, please. Ugh.
But yeah, their ship seems to have been blown up in this crazy ice sculpture, which was super cool. And Drago and his crew assumed that Hiccup did it with his dragon, and Hiccup was like, nah, and they flee the scene.
Yes,
they're like, we got to get out of here. This is bad. There are bad people in the world, turns out. That are besides, there are more people in the world, and some of them are not good. Hiccup is learning this at 20 years old.
Yeah, I actually thought about this, like, if you think about like a dragon as a metaphor for like a wolf, because I was thinking like this is what it must have been like when they first started to domesticate dogs.
Sure. Yeah.
Like one person was like, actually, I gave this wolf food and now he's like relying on me to feed him and he's pretty obedient to what I need.
And now I can scratch his tum-tum.
And now he's letting me scratch him behind the ear. And if you still get his tail, he's doing something kind of funny back there, but I think it's pretty cute. But there must have been a lot of people that were like, it's a wolf. It will kill you.
Yeah, there's still people like that with dogs, so.
And those people will burn in hell.
Yeah.
Rest assured. I will find them. I will send them down to hell.
I was... yeah.
No, go on.
I was a little, I mean, it corrected itself and obviously, went in a good way, but I was a little worried about the message this movie was particularly sending about, like, at first I was like, are they saying we shouldn't have pets? Like, I thought it was going to be, like, middle ground of, like, we should just let the dragons roam free, and it was going to be that
anti-pet movie.
Movie. I'm glad it definitely was not that at the end, but there was a moment there.
I'm going to be honest. Actually, that's true of, like, Drago was a character for me that, like, again, even though I've already technically seen this movie before, I had kind of forgotten, like, the middle section of the movie. And there was actually a few times in this movie that I was concerned, like, oh my God, is it really just going to be this? But then I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, it keeps unfolding. But yeah, Hiccup rushes back to Burke, tries to tell his dad that there are bad people, and his dad kind of
like,
ends
honey,
up
no shit.
Starts fortifying the castle, starts preparing for war, because he had met Drago before. He had met this Bloodquist before. And I guess there was this big meeting of Viking Chiefquist to talk about...
He went to the Burke UN.
Yeah, and I did write, is Bloodquist Q? at one.
Good one.
Just because the way he talked about it was like there was this mysterious figure who came in wearing dragon cloaks and
yes, yes,
had this agenda. Yeah, this
and was basically like, I will either protect you from my dragons, or my dragons are gonna ruin your shit.
Yeah, truly, and like had this whole like.
And as he's telling the story, by the way, he talks about like dragons as being a danger, and then like the kids and a few other people laugh, and he goes, "Yeah, we laugh too." It's like, you guys have been through a lot of different opinions on dragons. Apparently, like
5
you're laughing. 5 years ago, you were killing these guys straight out of the damn sky.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, but basically when they were like, Drago, I think we're good, dude. Drago sent, ordered his dragons to burn down this Model UN, killing everybody but Stoic, who was intended to die but just managed to escape. And Hiccup hears all of that and is like, no, I'm gonna go talk to him, and once he hears my message, I think he'll understand. Hiccup. What? I'm so sorry. I know the movie has to do something in order for it to be a movie. No fucking way. If at any age, somebody would say, but yeah, this person is so bad, like, he killed everybody for no goddamn reason at all. No way would my immediate next thought be, yeah, but I can fix him. Like, no, I'm so sorry. No.
This man who killed everybody for not getting on board his plan of capturing all the dragons to then rule the world. Nefariously, I assume.
And Stoic says
and
something like,
yeah, Hiccup is not a 20-year-old.
Yeah, you can't reason. Yeah, you can't reason with the man who kills for no reason. He says something something like that. And then Hiccup's like, Dad, I promise, if I just get 5 minutes to talk with him, I know he'll see what the rest of us sees. Like, I don't know. I actually don't know if all people can change.
I know 20 is young. I was certainly naive at 22, but not that naive. Again, these children are acting closer to like 13.
Yeah, and it also seems like Astrid and like his friends are like, you tell him, Hiccup, you go over there. Like, I think they're supporting of him, and it's like, this is when I would talk my friend out of. I'd be like, hey, friend, let's really think about what we just heard and what we know about this person and what you think you're about to do.
Right. I mean, also, we're preparing Hiccup to be a king. Let's get some like wits about this guy.
I am saying, honest to fucking God.
Let's wake him up to the real world a little bit, Stoic. I know you want him to be this big tough king and also protect him, but you got to do one or the other, man. You're letting him just go about him, and he's got to learn a thing or two about how the world works.
Which, speaking of Stoic's parenting, Hiccup then flies off. He's flying through the clouds, stunning. The Roger Deakins touch on this film, also very there. Floating into his vision through the clouds is this mysterious dragon rider with a cool mask, and it's like, is this Drago? Like, we don't know.
Yeah.
And then like a gang of dragons and a gang of dragon riders, like not riders, but a gang of dragons pull up. They knock Hiccup out of the sky. They knock Toothless out of the sky. They pick up Hiccup. They bring Hiccup back to his lair, leaving Toothless swimming in that ocean with scary.
That was a different. No,
this is when Hiccup is separated from Toothless because they bring Hiccup to the dragon's nest.
Right. And I thought, I still thought, when Toothless hit the water, I gasped out loud. Like,
I did not like that. I
did not like it. I did not like him struggling in the water to swim. I didn't like that. I want him.
Which later we learned they did that just to bring him to like the Bewilderbeast, that alpha dragon that also lives in the water. Yes, no, am I understanding that correctly?
No, I think they didn't realize he couldn't fly on his own. He needed Hiccup to fly.
That's it, because he has... Right, because he's got that tail. Right. I've seen this movie twice, and I still am like...
It's a little, I mean, yeah. It's a little sloppy, but they
I just realized as I was talking about this, I was like, why did they knock Toothless out of the sky if they're like dragon lovers? But regardless, Toothless is fine. He's fine. They bring Hiccup to this dragon lair. It's fine. They bring Hiccup to this dragon lair. We think, oh my god, these dragons are about to kill him. He pulls out his cool lightsaber, and he like entrances the dragon with fire. Kind of like Toothless, like he just has a way with these dragons. And that's when our mysterious dragon rider is like, oh my god, could it be? Reveal that dragon rider lady is actually Hiccup's mother, voiced by Kate Blanchett, Valka.
What a twist.
Valka!
What a twist.
And like, I wrote down every truly great sequel has a parental reveal. Literally, if it is the sequel to a movie and a random parent doesn't show up, get that shit out of my face. I only watch sequels that have parents being reunited with their long-lost children, Winter's Tale style.
Yeah.
Winter's Tale style.
Winter's Tale. Yeah. What a great reveal. Did not see it coming. And great also works so well. In the beginning, he's talking to Astrid, and he's like, I don't see how I came from my father. I don't know who I take after. And then we find out he's just like his mama, who's this cool...
And also, we talked about this with the first one, but a great screenplay here again. Just great. I feel like everything they introduced, they bring back. Just like nice and neat and good through lines, good foreshadowing, good little moments like that actually fucking mean something. I feel like I've seen a lot of movies lately where it's like a really interesting idea is brought up and then like they never revisit it, or it just turns out like, oh, that was just a scene for the sake of being interesting. Like, what the motherfucker? Like, it's nice to watch a movie that is like as simple as like, thank you for actually remembering what you wrote 25 pages ago and then bringing that back into what we're looking
Thank
at
you
right
for
now.
sticking to some screenwriting 101 conventions. It is
now it is a kids movie,
see.
so yeah, some of it is pretty blatant because again,
but it's satisfying to see.
But it's elegant, like it's not so blatant. We're looking dead in the camera and winking. Like it's just nice foundation work. You can follow along at home. When it's very satisfying.
It's done well, and like there are rules for a reason, and it is like, you know, a satisfying, like in a good movie that's well done, simple is very satisfying and very heartwarming. I will say though, between between Hiccup's like wingsuit and his dragon taming and his sword and all his little gadgets, he is Dragon Batman. He is becoming Dragon Batman.
The utility belt on Hiccup is quite thick. It's
growing.
Lot of toys.
He's got a lot of toys, but it turns out he meets his mom, and he turns out at first it seems like before we hear the whole story, I'm like, so his mom just ran away to like become a dragon hoarder?
Right.
It seems a little like at the beginning I'm like, so she just left her son to become a dragon lady?
I'm gonna be honest, even when we do get the full background, it's still like, lady,
you never tried to find your way back?
More complex. Yeah, this is especially because she's like literally a perfect dragon rider. Like she's walking on the backs, like she's flying alongside them, fucking practically. She's goddamn.
Oh, they love her. Yeah.
Yes, like the alpha dragon is obsessed with her. So earlier when I talked about like, there's moments in the movie that are sometimes a little bit too easy where Hiccup just is like, okay, sure. When his mom, I think if this movie was written in the last like 3 years, I think their relationship would be a little bit more dynamic. And I think Hiccup would have a little bit more resentment for his mom. Recent animated movies like Turning Red, Encanto, there's been a lot of animated movies that have kind of had reckonings where it's actually like, maybe your parents aren't always right. And maybe the lesson is, how do we forgive our family members for trying to do what they think is the right thing, but maybe isn't always the right thing, which is an important message. And in this movie, it is a little bit like,
everyone is
Hiccup
forgiven.
Is just like, you know what, Mom? I forgive you. I love you, and you're my mother. And it's like, is that cool with you, Hiccup? Because I would feel some kind of way if it turns out my mom was just flying distance away from me this whole time. And
Right.
was like, I just
And
didn't think I'd be a good mom to you.
Right. And has been like
What?
clearly getting around and like knows the layout of the land and like has a lot she could have taught him. I guess just because she didn't get along at Burke.
Yeah, she's a pacifist. I mean, again, it makes sense because Hiccup couldn't bring himself to kill a dragon in the first movie. That's why we're here. So it makes sense
Right.
that he kind of passes on that characteristic.
Right.
But like,
But
lady,
yeah,
your
it's-
son, your baby
your son
son.
also needs that help. Like, cause he like it never occurred to you that you also your son is a gentle boy too and needs you.
Yeah, with all due respect to Hiccup's mom, but she's kind of one of those like crunchy granola moms.
Oh,
who's,
absolutely.
Like,
I
so
did write
concerned. Yeah, she's like so concerned with like she's one of those people that like in an effort to end animal abuse, she's willing to be sexist and racist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she's one of those people whose like priorities are like, I love animals too, but like maybe human beings are more important in our society.
It's like
sorry to say.
and maybe I'll get doxxed or whatever for this, but she is like a PETA extremist where that's where I got
Definitely PETA vibes.
I got this is another place where I got concerned because we see her dragon lair where dragons are running freely, and I was like, oh no, this is going to be like an anti-pet ownership story.
Oh, that's
I was like, she just went
that makes sense.
until she described what was actually going down. I was like, oh, did she just go to like live amongst the dragons and try to free all dragons and is going to tell Hiccup like, you got to go back to Burke and get these people away from their dragons?
That is an interesting instinct.
Yeah, maybe.
As a pet owner, you a hit dog hollers, and you were like, wait a second.
No.
What are we talking about here?
No. Yeah, I was worried that
she
she was going to try to separate Toothless and Hiccup. I was like, no, let the boy keep his dragon. They're best friends, and they need each other.
That's a bond. I have a question for you. Do you think Valka ever like fucked one of those dragons?
Definitely. 100%.
I mean, she's been completely isolated for 20 years.
Yeah, she I have recently been watching a lot of the show
Hentai?
Hentai. Yeah, no. The show Alone, which is on Hulu. It's you get a bunch of survivalists, and it's basically just like see if they can make it 100 days with 10 items.
Can you do it?
Yeah. And you get a lot of people, and they go into some of their backstories. Also, watch Alone. Alone is fucking great. But
yeah, I gotta check it out.
It's pretty good. But yeah, you get a lot of these people's backstories, and a lot of like the women there are homesteaders, and that's what she kind of just reminded me of like, yeah, she just like takes care of like that is just her life. She just like takes care of these dragons and lives there and like lives this very simple life. So, no, but hard maybe.
Let me say it like this. City girls buy toys. Dragon nest ladies make do.
Sure. I mean, when Stoic arrives, it seems like she wanted someone around.
They reconnected also pretty fast. Although that I understood a little bit more. Like for Stoic, I kind of understand that a little bit more. It's Hiccup that I was just kind of like, wow, you don't have any resentment towards your mother at all for abandoning you. Like,
and then like clearly,
I mean, he's a good boy. Like good for him for being able to compartmentalize all that information in a very short amount of time. And it's not really like the principal theme of the movie. So I don't blame the movie for like,
no, it's a different
having...
movie. It becomes a very different movie. They did so much first act setup that if they made this a mother-son story, which it kind of is, but like if they went that route of mother redeeming herself, or like it just becomes then they do have to do that thing where they drop all the setup that they had previously and just go a new route.
It's a separate film entirely. I just think that just compared to like the recent slew of animated films that have come out, which have been like a little bit more forgiving about like sometimes mom and dad are wrong, and like how do we handle that? In this movie, it's just like mom has always loved you, so don't be a little bitch. Come on, we got a movie to make. Let's go.
Yeah,
Get over it.
That is what it feels like. I think going into any of those feelings is just such a complicated thing that this movie is like, we need to just move.
Yeah, and you know what? If they had even dipped their toes in that water, I would be saying, they should have explored that more if they were going to bring that up. You know what I mean? Like, damned if they do, damned if they don't.
Exactly. It's either you do that movie or you kiss, you make up, and you do the rest of your movie.
You just move it right along.
And you have this cool new character.
But I will say, yeah. But before Stoic gets there, I love kind of seeing the two of them fly together. They are so similar.
Right, connect.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you cry watching
she learned,
this movie?
Yeah. What?
You cry watching this movie?
No, but that's a tall task for me. I don't.
I got a little choked up. I got a little choked up in the scene where Hiccup again tries his flying trick. It goes wrong. Toothless tackles him to the ground.
I love when Toothless like gets mad at him for being reckless. I think that's the sweetest.
Yeah,
I love that moment. Those moments. It happens twice.
Yes. But Valka holds his face in her hands and she just looks at him and says something like, after all of this time, you took after me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that got me.
Damn, that got me. I didn't like cry, but that got me. That was very powerful.
It warmed my heart.
And
for sure.
and then anything me saying like, there were layers between that relationship they didn't get to, whatever. All that goes away when she like has that whole monologue that she's like, I missed everything. Like, and I think she even asks him, can you forgive me for this? And Hiccup's like, yeah, of course.
Yeah,
which is beautiful.
She does go through.
Lovely.
She has a lot of guilt that does get expressed throughout the movie to both Hiccup and Stoic. But I think mechanics wise, it is important to talk about what the vibe over on her island is.
Yes, of course.
Well, she also shows she's like, I've been studying dragons this whole time. I've been living amongst them for years.
She's also been mapping, as it turns out.
She's also been mapping. She's learned that dragons have cool buttons where if you press them, they have fins that come up.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah,
part.
she like presses a button or whatever, like just an area behind Toothless's ears, and then he has these 2 rows of fins, and she's like, he can make tighter turns now, and he's like, so Toothless is like so happy about his new fins. He was like very excited.
I got an iOS upgrade on the dragon. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so cute. He's so excited about them. He's like, look at my cool new fins. Ugh, I want one. I want a Toothless.
A dragon or fins?
I'd take either, but I was talking about a dragon.
A little, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I could pull off a fin. But a dragon.
I guess it'd be tough.
I want a Toothless. Specifically, I want a Toothless.
I want a Tooth. Not those other stupid, dumb
Toothless
dragons.
is like clearly the best one. Clearly.
Yes, of course.
I do like her big dragon.
I do like the bigger. He kind of reminded me of a manatee.
Yeah, he's cute.
If Toothless is like a little cat dog, the big one is like a little manatee, like an elephant, like one of those gentle giant animals.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Like a cow or something. It's also like,
yes.
I really I like seeing Toothless interact with the other dragons, like the more quote unquote wild dragons, playing and dancing and like unsure, like getting sniffed by them and like, what the hell?
Yes. Yeah, he's like new to doggy daycare, and all the regulars are like, what is this?
Which is funny because it seems like, Toothless is a people pet, one of those pets that don't, but he hangs out with other dragons all the time.
He's a dragon for all people and all creatures, really.
Yeah. But yeah, so it turns out she's been living amongst dragons, like learning as much as she can about them. There is that whole island that she lives on answers and is run by this alpha creature called the Bewilderbeast.
That creature built the structure because he can breathe ice.
Right.
And not fire.
Yeah. So
that's the big distinguisher.
Yeah, he's a massive creature that lives underwater and builds their structures and defends them. And just kind of like allows them to live peacefully in this secret island, and everybody listens to him. He has like control over the other dragons But the babies, and this is important, don't listen. And they're still babies. They'll still mess with him. And he won't hurt them. That's a very cute scene when it's introduced. Of just like the babies like bouncing around on his face. And he's just like, oh.
Yes.
These little guys.
And you know, it's like a cutesy little moment, but then it's like comes back again.
It comes back.
This script is so good at doing that. Like, I really appreciate.
Yeah.
It's like everything is important in this movie.
Babies don't listen to anyone. Which is cute.
So real.
Then, yeah. Stoic, knowing that Hiccup ran away to try to find Drago, follows him and followed him to this secret lair and finds him and this dragon rider there who turns out to be his long lost wife. And Stoic, I mean, he thought she was dead the whole time, so he doesn't really have he's probably just like happy to see her alive.
That is what I understand more about Stoic's reaction than Hiccup's, because Hiccup was a baby, like he may as well not have had a mom at all. And now it's like, well, actually he's learning for the first time he did have the chance to have a mom. But for Stoic, it's like, Stoic, thank God you're alive.
Well, yeah, Stoic is more happy to see his wife alive. She was a little like, are you mad at me? And then he's like, no.
Yes.
I did write, I mean, the note looks stupid. Stoic is a king. But like capital K.
No, Stoic is a king. He is such a king. That kiss when they first reunite, that framing, everything about it is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Plus, you have like two real actors like Cate Blanchett, who is chewing this role up. She's great. I mean, of course she's great. But she, like, the fact that it's an animated movie, she's like, I don't give a fuck. I'm still turning in an Academy Award-winning performance. Kiss my ass. And Gerard Butler's like, and I will also get in on that as well. Where's the fucking mic? Like, that scene is so lovely between the two of them. You really hear the vulnerability. The animation is so fucking good in this movie. Oh, like it's so, that is such a lovely scene. Perfect
scene. I will say, he's just happy to see her. I was still like, well, again, I'm glad she's alive. My thought would have been like, well, I'm glad she's alive. My first instinct, yes, is happy. My second instinct would be like, well, then what the fuck? But again,
I have raised our son by myself this entire time. Like, you never were curious to see how he was or how I was. Yeah, I mean, spoiler, if he had like more time to live, I think maybe there would have been a conversation off camera between the two of them.
But they did break out into this lovely song and dance, which I did.
Yes, Sigur Rós. Did you see that?
No.
Sigur Rós is back. Ionis, their, I think, like, lead singer. He's like wrote this song. John Powell collabed in the last film, but like for this movie, they went back to the Sigur Rós to write this song. I wrote down, I said, one thing Gerard Butler is going to do is sing. Let me tell you something. If you cast Gerard Butler in a movie, you're going to have a song in that movie, and he is going to sing it.
And I don't know why. And I don't know particularly why, but sure.
This is an interesting question. Is he a good singer?
No, I did. Okay, that song was a little rough. That song was a little rough for me at the start, and I love a musical. Once it like picked up and became like a happy fun song, but when I thought they were just breaking out into song about how much they've loved and missed each other, I was like, oh god, no, why are we doing this? It turned itself around.
It could have sounded better. I also, and this is my theater background, I respect when an actor is willing to sacrifice vocal quality for like a true acting moment. And if you think about it, Stoic as a character, like, is he a good singer?
No, Stoic's not a good singer.
Stoic to be? Like, he's singing kind of bad, and I wonder, like, on purpose?
Maybe. I mean, it did fit the character. That's why, like, the quality of the singing didn't bother me that much. Because there's no way.
This is the Phantom of the Opera. Like, I'm not going to weigh on his performance in that movie, but I don't think Andrew Lloyd Webber would just fully cast a non-singer. You know what I mean?
Sure. No, that's a good point. I do think he is singing as Stoic, who is probably not a good singer, and that it didn't bother me that much. I just was like, is this movie really gonna put a ballad? randomly.
No, I agree. It went on just like literally 7 seconds too long in the slow part that I got a little bit nervous. Like, oh, we're pivoting to an animated movie musical in this world. I guess that's fair enough, but I don't remember this much music in the other ones.
Yeah, but you know what? It turned out fine. We get the gang.
Yes.
There's kind of a between then and the final or the third act. There's kind of a yada 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 moment along until we
with the other characters coming after to find Hiccup and they get intervened with Eret, son of Eret.
Yeah. The other characters that BC story.
I like that you called it a yada yada yada.
Yeah. Well, it kind of is because they just like, oh, and we're gonna be here too. We're gonna find our way over there.
Well, it's just kind of pointless at the end of it because, like, they get captured by Eret. Eret takes them to Drago, and then Drago's like, kill them, and Eret's like, just kidding, I'm with you guys, and then breaks them out of there. And then it's like, okay, kind of like Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's like, then why did Indy fight so hard to get the Ark of the Covenant if they were just going to open it and kill themselves anyway? You know, it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, look, I get it, but at the end of like this little part of the movie, like, we're back to stasis. Like, other than like we've established that Eret actually is one of us. I like the Kristen Wiig tough character.
Well, here's again where I think
tough nut.
Again, they are not acting like 20-year-olds. They are acting like 13-year-olds. When she is
yes, she has a child, like a schoolgirl crush on him.
She jumps off the dragon and says, "Take me."
Yes.
And I'm like, girl, no.
No, honey.
Girl, don't do that for anyone.
Yeah, underrated. I did kind of like this weird love triangle between like Tough Nut and like the other two guys.
Yeah.
Just because it's Kristen Wiig, who I want to commend Kristen Wiig for actually doing a character voice. I think so often when famos are brought in to voice a character, like they like, I think of like a Chris Pratt, like he just speaks into a microphone. Sure. Kristen Wiig is fully doing a voice, fully realized character voice, which I appreciate. Yeah. And it's Christopher Mintz-Plasse and Jonah Hill. Yeah. And so just hearing the three of them is fucking funny.
Yeah. It goes on. Yeah. It's a little just like, I love her. No, I love her.
It's something to bring a laugh into a movie that is otherwise a deeply emotional family reunion and like a two ideologies of this world meeting. Like it's something that because actually this is kind of a thick movie.
It is, and like I think a lot of the characters that we were introduced to in the first one get pushed aside. Like Astrid really isn't in this movie.
Astrid took a sabbatical for this film. She was busy filming a few other projects and was not available. Yeah, she's really not in this one at all.
Despite being promoted to fiance.
Which I didn't even hear about that until after the fact.
Yeah. But yeah, they all get there eventually with Eret, and we get to, the big fight where Hiccup's just gonna talk to Drago.
Yeah, Drago, doesn't his like fucking armada show up at the dragon's nest? And I think Eret and the gang are like closely followed. Yes, this is where Hiccup is fully intending on just being like, listen, Drago, I know you may think of dragons as being one way, and we used to think that too on Burke, but actually, they're our friends. And Drago is like, I have already run an axe through your skull, you little fucking boy.
Right. I know that. I control the bad bewilder beast.
Is this where we learn that? Yes, this is where we learn that he's got a bewilder beast of himself.
Yeah. And he is like,
he's got one of his own.
In his army under his thumb, a bad one. And that the bewilder beast can like put a spell on dragons.
Which is very upsetting. Actually, when the movie ended, I thought about that and I was thinking like, that's actually really violent and
scary.
There's something like violating about like he can control your mind. I don't know. Anytime
just,
like mind control is involved, I think that's very like intimate.
It's a little
like,
weird.
Ooh, that's so.
It's a little weird that he can just like, turn your pet against you into this monster. Oh, I felt so bad for Toothless.
And that he's using this like synchronicity between the dragons like purely for evil and destruction. Like, you know, as it's presented in the movie, it's done in like a comically cartoony way. But when you actually think about that thematically, like, that's dark, man. That's really kind of scary. That's actually truly scary.
That's some dark magic. That there's this guy out there who has this beast that he can just like completely turn your best friend at any moment into a killing machine against you.
Right. So this big fight breaks out. Good versus evil. Great camera work across the board in this
another
movie.
Stunning looking moving. The freezing.
I don't know what the term is for like camera work in animation, but like there's still like cinematography. Movement. Like
it's still cinematography. It's still but
just like the little things like this not static. Oh, what's it called when like your controller vibrates when you're playing a video game? Whatever. Like you see the camera lens shake when they hit the ground. When something fly past the camera acts like wind just hit it, and like it's like these little detailed things in these big fight sequences that really make it dynamic to watch. It makes
like a very visceral
it must have been a
movie.
bitch to storyboard that and to put that together and sequence that. Christ almighty damn.
But the ice blast is really cool.
So cool.
Yeah.
We lose our good Bewilderbeast to the evil Bewilderbeast. It looks like the fight they're just really struggling in this fight. It gets so bad that Hiccup, when he finally goes down to do like his little dragons are friends monologue to Drago, Drago's like, actually, let's see how much of a friend your dragon really is. Boo-doo, 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 boo-doo. And I wrote down in all caps, Toothless, stop, this isn't you. I hated this part. I hate this part of the movie. I don't like it at all. That's not Toothless.
No.
Stop. I want to hold him back like, baby, this isn't you. This isn't you. I know this isn't you. Let's just go home.
You're a sweet boy. You're just a sweet boy who likes getting his ears scratched.
It's not fair. And then he charges up to like Sonic Blast Hiccup, and Stoic jumps in the way to save his son, and he's killed by Toothless. And then Hiccup lashes out, which is so brutal. And then Hiccup lashes out at Toothless. I'm like, don't yell at him. Don't yell. You know that wasn't his fault. You know that wasn't his fault. You were there. You saw what happened. I don't like this part of the movie.
No, it was very, it was almost a little bit Lion King reminiscent, just because of Dad died. But yeah, Hiccup going over to him and being like, Dad, wake up. And then Toothless,
like
God.
Like on the one hand, I hate this part of the movie, but on the other hand, like it raises the stakes by 100 if Toothless is like not our guy anymore.
I know. It means Hiccup's, the main dude, the thing that he's been kind of rejecting of becoming leader.
Now he's been thrust into being king,
chief of this
tribe. It's actually
tribe
very generous. Yeah, sorry. It's actually very generous to like give him his mom back. At least he's not a fucking orphan after this incident.
Right, but he is. He's thrust into power, and we're just like, all right, well, everything you believed in, even naively, has been taken away from you, and now your dad's dead, and now in this moment you have to take power. It's super effective story-wise. Like, okay, Toothless is chief, everything he's believed has kind of been turned on its head. Now he's realizing for the first time too that like some people really can't change, and I definitely know like I've had to have that realization multiple times in my young life, that it's like, fuck, you have this hope and this optimism that all people are good and all people like, can learn and grow and change. But actually, sometimes, no, some people are just so set in their way. And that's typically based in fear and ignorance.
just like with this.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, it's very effective. I really respect that both this movie and the last one, they're really not afraid to get dramatic and to like really kind of get serious. And
yeah,
it's like fucking sequel bingo to be like, it's darker than the last one. Like, I almost don't want to say it. It's just that this is a maturation of the movie we saw before, and kind of I think like for a generation of kids who genuinely may have grown up watching these movies in real time, kind of like Harry Potter for us, you know, like when we were growing up, it was like as Harry was learning, like sometimes people are bad, like we were learning that too. It's relatable, I guess, is the point I'm trying to make.
I get as much as I'm talking about
true.
Yeah. As much as I am making fun of they're not acting like 20-year-olds, like young adults.
Yeah.
They're still acting like teenagers, but they are it is you're right. They are growing up. They are dealing with more profound things. Before this, Stoic is trying to get Hiccup to become more of a serious adult, and he's kind of rejecting that and like flying around and just trying to find like new islands and doing the things that interest him. But he's gonna have to take on a lot more responsibility by the end of this movie in like a very serious way without a support system that has always been there for him.
Can I ask, do you think the age of these characters, like, do you think we could believe more time has passed between the first and the second movie if the vocal performances were slightly different? Because that was a thought I had, especially for Hiccup, that like, that's the other thing too. None of their voices change. And given the timeline of these characters being teen to 20, I don't know. I would imagine some of the guys would sound different.
Yeah.
It's just kind of youthful.
I mean,
it's a youthful performance.
Jay Baruchel has that very distinctive kind of higher pitch voice.
Oh, I mean, like a Kristen Shaw. Like, yeah, sometimes you can't help it. But I just mean like,
yeah, we could have dropped an octave or two.
I mean, it doesn't even necessarily have to be that,
or just like a gruffness. He still sounds very He sounds like a teenager. He sounds like
he still sounds. I mean,
it's kind of Jay Baruchel's voice that is very cracky. But yeah, I feel like there's something we could have done about that. Either in the performance or post.
Yeah, I myself have gotten multiple acting notes over the years of like, I'm doing a scene and like, I'll get really like frantic and I'm all the way up here. And like a director or an acting coach will tell me like, okay, drop into your chest voice. Like meaning like, don't let it get so high that it sounds pathetic or desperate. So I just personally think a couple of those characters could have like, let's drop into a more grounded voice and just maybe a less youthful performance. Like I not that the voice acting is bad at all. This would just be like my feedback if I was in the studio. Like, let's maybe sound like 5 years have passed in between the first and this movie, because I think that would have benefited some of the storytelling in terms of how these characters have grown since the last time we've seen them.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And that's what I'll say about that.
Yeah, but we gotta now. Hiccup is grown up. He is thrust into the chief position, and
well, now a boy has become a man. Definitely knowing your father sacrificed himself. Oh, actually, that's very complex. Your beloved dragon killed your father.
Oh, yeah.
He was intending on killing you, and the only reason why your dad died was because he was protecting you in his last moment of life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn. Also, your mom is back.
Yeah. No, it's a lot going on for young Hiccup here, and he's got to go back.
Hiccup.
20-year-old Hiccup. But he's got to go back.
Yeah, so they go back to Burke.
Resettle, reconfigure. What the fuck just happened?
Yes.
We got to get our boys back.
Drago has attacked their home village. Hiccup shows up and he's like, I want to talk to my dragon. And Drago is like, well, he's under my spell, so good luck with that. But through the power of love, friendship, and by gently putting your hand in front of an animal so they can smell you and know that you're safe.
Friends. Yep.
Hiccup and Toothless are reunited. Toothless is able to shake off the hypnosis because at the end of the day, he is truly loyal to his boy. And Hiccup now is back, is reunited with Toothless. I have always said, I always joke, like, if I came across a bear, I would, like, crouch down and put my hand down and be like, but does Hiccup not literally crouch down and put his hand down?
Yeah, in front of a thing that just tried to
I'm
kill
sorry,
him.
it's not your fault.
Right. In front of a thing that just tried to kill him and in lieu killed his father. It's but you know, love
this is another part that kind of got me a little, just to see Toothless, like his vision, you know, clearing up, being able to see Hiccup, his eyes changing again,
and then realizing what happened, and
poor thing,
killed me. But Toothless tries to fight the Bewilderbeast on behalf of Hiccup, with Hiccup, and the Bewilderbeast shoots ice at them, seemingly freezing them, killing them. But all of a sudden, that ice starts to glow. And then we get a blast out of the ice. Because Toothless learned a new trick. He
has Godzilla power.
He has like these plasma blasts. And he's glowing all blue. And he's angry, but he's still so cute. And he's really like proud of himself. Like he got them out. He saved the day. He was able to... They released... the babies, because babies don't listen to the Bewilderbeast. They can't be under his spell.
Yes.
So the babies come in, they save the day. These little nuisance baby dragons distract the Bewilderbeast while Toothless huffs and puffs at him and eventually knocks him down. And Toothless becomes Alpha Dragon. Toothless also becomes...
He's the king of the dragons.
He also becomes Big Boy Dragon. He becomes a big boy in this movie, too. And we're so proud of him. He's been through some shit. He's been through some dark times.
Oh my God, the guilt he must feel. I mean, he's passed obedience school with flying colors. He may have chewed up the couch, but we love him.
And he may have killed his best friend's dad by accident.
And who amongst us
hasn't killed?
You know,
I mean, we can't fault him for that. It wasn't him. Oh God, that part really killed me. That was really
honestly,
that was upsetting. It wasn't just sad. It was upsetting.
God, upsetting is the word. It really was. Yeah.
And then we end
How to
on
Train a Dragon for you.
Yeah, we come back full circle. This is Burke. We're dunking sheep again on the backs of dragons, and Hiccup has some stubble and is chief of Burke.
Yay, congratulations.
With his mom back at Burke, and we're all happy and we love our dragons, and cute. Again, cute. I want a Toothless. That's my main takeaway from this movie every time is I want a Toothless.
So sweet. So sweet. His little stumpy little legs and arms.
Yeah, and his big old
and his long. I can picture like holding Toothless up like a cat and like his long
belly
like
stretching,
scaly lizard body like stretching very
like
far,
dangling.
and it's actually like Toothless is like 30 feet tall.
And just his like
I can
dumb
picture
little
that
stumpy
very
arms
clearly.
just like wiggling there. Love him.
Oh my god! I can't wait for the next one because there's a little girl dragon. There's gonna be another little girl dragon.
Yeah, but how do you think this stacked up overall?
I think it's wonderful. I think like both this movie is as equally good to the last movie. Honestly, like I don't think necessarily one is better than the other. I think this does a nice job of expanding on what they did before, which we got called out on the Patreon, by the way, for not talking enough about John Powell and the score, which is like genuinely magical. I skimmed, and by read I mean I skimmed, a interview he did with Collider specifically talking about this soundtrack. And something that I thought was interesting was like the interviewer was like, for animated movies, like they could have just taken the score you made for the first one and then just reused it. Like there's absolutely no reason for you to do like a sequel to an animated film.
Yeah.
So yeah, and basically John Powell was like, well, first of all, I like the director. I like working. I guess the author of the original books also is like pretty involved in making these movies. And he said that at the Academy Awards where How to Train Your Dragon 1 had been nominated, he like made this quip about being drunk and kind of celebrating the night with the dragon crew. And he turned to the director and was like, hey, don't use filler music when you're making the sequel. Meaning, so when when editors are putting together movies and putting together rough cuts, sometimes they'll just use like any fucking music at all to kind of set the tone, to demonstrate like, hey, this is what we think it's going to sound. It's going to sound something like this. The problem with that is by the time it actually gets to the music supervisor, sometimes directors and studios are just like, hey, make an exact replica of this song that we used, which is why like the Hans Zimmer Inception is like in every fucking movie. And so for How to Train Your Dragon 2, they respected John Powell's wishes. They really did not use filler music at all. When they did, sometimes they would just use what John Powell had already made for the first movie. And so by the time like John Powell and Sigur Rós got together to make the soundtrack for this, it was like, cool, we now have carte blanche because there's no expectations from anybody else as to what we're going to bring to this. So he talks about like wanting to obviously honor the first soundtrack, but expand on it, like not make it the same thing, take themes that they already had. They were talking technical, like it was like a 100-piece orchestra with like 50 Norwegian singers, some crazy shit like that. They also flew the filmmakers out to Norway, including Roger Deakins, to take a look at like Oslo and the fjords and just like Norway head to toe. Dean DeBlois explained, this is a direct quote, he directed Lilo and Stitch, and he said, quote, if you set an animated film in a place you want to visit, there's a chance you might actually get to go there. So it sounds like all of them were like, fuck, hey,
the Adam Sandler
goddamn trip to Norway for a couple of weeks.
Right, the Adam Sandler
Yeah, so
rule
it sounds like
of like
exactly. You can make more money with a flop than with a hit, but make the flop in fucking Hawaii. So it sounds like everything I read from the director, from John Powell, like it just sounds like going into this movie, DreamWorks was like, listen, you guys fucking hit it out of the park the first time around. So
do it again.
Whatever you need to do to make that happen again here.
Yeah.
And they had like 5 years to make this movie. Like, maybe because I'm a Star Wars fan, but like refreshing to see a sequel that's like, no, you guys did it the first time. Do it again. Make it better and different. And we trust you to follow through on this vision. And apparently Dean DeBlois also only came back to this movie because he was like, listen, I'll make a sequel, but if I'm making a sequel, I'm making a trilogy, bitch. So this was always going to be a trilogy. This is a sequel with a trilogy in mind. I think that's kind of sick.
Yeah.
And this film premiered at the Cannes Film Festival,
Whoa.
if you can believe that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was good. I think I still prefer the first one. The first one feels more dynamic.
Fair enough.
This one had moments to me that kind of lulled. That isn't to say I didn't enjoy it and I like the maturation of the story and where it's taking it. I really love to hear that like it was conceived as a trilogy and that's what they set out to make. So
once it was greenlit for a sequel, it was a trilogy.
I really like that. I like that that's what it was in his mind, even with the first, like we could have ended it on the first one or we're doing a trilogy. Yes. I think that's the way trilogy should be done. That's the way they got to be done.
Yes, and even though they know it's a trilogy, this movie does not end on a cliffhanger.
No.
All of my questions are answered, and I feel satisfied at the end of the movie. Like, I watched a complete story.
They're all complete stories that don't rely on each other, but they build off each other in a really satisfying way, in a way that fits and makes sense for the world that they've built. And this is still a good movie, and I still love hanging out with Toothless and the gang in Burke. So
I'm a little biased because this was the first movie of these that I saw.
Oh, okay.
And I remember like my roommate just had it on. And I was like, oh yeah, this movie that like came out when we were like in high school, whatever. And then she was like, no, have you seen them? They're actually very good. I was
They're
like,
very good.
I guess I'll watch this one. And they are very good.
Yeah.
I actually think this movie should have won the Oscar. I looked up who won Best Animated Film, and it was Big Hero 6.
Oh. I didn't see that
Which
movie.
I do like Baymax. Talk about it. Oh, Baymax is
Betamax
cute.
is cute. And very funny.
Cat.
And very,
There's a cat in that movie, too. But I don't think Big Hero 6 is a better movie than this movie, personally.
Yeah, maybe it's just a sequel bias. Maybe just because it is a sequel.
See, well, and a Disney bias as well.
Sure.
Big Hero 6 is Disney. This is DreamWorks.
And it's also, I feel like a sequel will never get as much love as like an original first movie. Not that
Yeah, not hard to do that at the Academy Awards.
Yeah. But this is a very good sequel. I think I'm a person who's always gonna be even if the second one is good, I'm always gonna say you need the first. Like, I'm still gonna put the first over the.
Sure.
But all these movies I was looking up on Rotten Tomatoes in the 90s for critic score. I think the lowest is like high 80s. They're good.
Yeah, we talked about this last time. They're hugely commercially successful.
Yeah.
There's a fucking spin-off television series which is also very successful and very beloved. And still I find these movies to be underrated. Like, I feel like when we talk about really strong scripts, really good examples of like a compelling and mature storytelling, especially in terms of a franchise or a trilogy, like, why is these films not more in the conversation?
Yeah, no, I agree. These movies are
justice for How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah,
franchise.
Justice for Toothless. It wasn't his fault.
And we will. I don't want to think about it anymore.
All right, I'll let you go. We'll be back. We got one
more.
We'll
be back. We'll be back with more dragons.
More
Toothless. And another trilogy is about to be put in the book, in the vault, in the series, in the canon even.
Yeah. As always, if you're not already, subscribe to Small Beans on whatever podcast service you like to do that. Rate and review on iTunes. Leave us a comment on our Patreon, or even a couple dollars. And Sarah, I know you got some stuff you want to talk about.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say that Bridget and I are also on Twitter. Bridget is at Bridget Tweets.
That's true.
There's 3 T's in that,
right in a
Bridget
row.
Tweets. And then I'm on Twitter at SK_Griffith. We are also in the middle of a fundraising campaign for a series Bridget and I are working on, although I think by the time this comes out, that will be wrapped up. But we'll see. If you hear this and the campaign has officially come to an end on Indiegogo, you could still support New Load. There's plenty of ways to do that. You can always, if you're about to give me money, you can always tweet me. You can always DM me. I will always accept money even after an Indiegogo may have officially finished. So stay tuned. Bridget and I have been writing the series. It's very funny. It's very good. And you'll be getting some more information about that in the following months and years. So follow us on Twitter for that.
All right.
And we'll be back with the Hidden World.
Hidden World.
Trader Dragons 3.
Them.
This has been a Small Beans endeavor. We're a bunch of pals who make podcasts, sketches, music, web series, and movies. The beans always have new ideas percolating, so make sure to check us out at patreon.com/smallbeans. That's patreon.com/smallbeans, where you can browse all of our current and past content, see what we've got planned in the future, and learn how your support can help the small beans grow into huge, giant monster beans. If you enjoyed this content module, please like, rate, subscribe, or tell a friend about us. We love you!